Imagine you are a local car dealer.
Okay, I'm with you.
You just spent $4,000 on cutting-edge artificial intelligence marketing. You were promised incredible reach, laser-targeted demographics, basically the whole 9 yards.
Sounds like a great pitch, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But then you find out every single penny of that $4,000 went to advertising cars to digital robots. Oh, and to people who literally already bought a car from you.
Wow. Yeah, that is a nightmare scenario.
It really is. Welcome to Auto News Talk. You know, the automotive industry is throwing absolute billions at technology. We are talking about radical global alliances, massive technological transitions, all of it supposed to secure a company's survival for the next century.
But the reality on the ground is a lot messier.
Exactly. Whether you are looking at a multinational manufacturer or just the local dealership down the street, these grand sweeping strategies are kind of completely falling apart at the very last mile.
Yeah, the execution is where the wheels fall off.
So the big question we are tackling on this segment is this. What actually happens when the smartest AI and the biggest international partnerships hit the messy, unpredictable reality of the actual sales floor?
It is an absolute reality check, honestly, and, well, a bit of a bloodbath in some areas. To really understand what is happening, we need to map out the terrain of what we call the execution gap.
The execution gap. I like that framing.
Yeah, and we're going to trace this execution gap all the way from the macro level. So looking at how massive European car makers are completely altering their survival strategies straight down to the micro level.
Right, down to the actual dealerships.
Exactly. We will look at how your local dealerships are trying to plug those massive leaks in their digital ad budgets and how they are entirely rethinking the first human touch in a digital sale.
Okay, let's start at the top of the food chain, the macro strategy. We are seeing legacy European automakers, the OEMs, or original equipment manufacturers, basically the giant companies that actually engineer and build the cars, forming these totally unprecedented alliances with their Chinese rivals.
It's a huge shift.
It really is. There's a fascinating piece of analysis called Stellantis-LeapMotor Alliance signals a new playbook that really breaks this down. The central insight here is that European automakers are turning to Chinese electric vehicle expertise rather than competing head-on.
Which sounds, completely counterintuitive at first glance. I mean, why invite your biggest competitor into your house?
Right. It feels like giving up.
It does. But the coverage outlines that these European OEMs are doing this to survive intense policy pressures and to dramatically speed up their own electrification efforts. They simply cannot build the software and battery architectures fast enough on their own.
So they basically have to borrow the tech. And the mechanics of this are wild. The reporting details how Stellantis and LeapMotor are co-developing an Opel-branded electric SUV.
They aren't just sharing ideas on a whiteboard somewhere.
No, not at all. They are actually utilizing the underused Zaragoza plant over in Spain to physically build it. And it isn't just an isolated incident either.
Right, there are others doing this.
Yeah, the same analysis points out that Volkswagen and even Ford, in a partnership with Geely, are exploring very similar tie-ups.
To really understand why they are doing this, you have to look at the mechanics of international trade. You can't just ship a fully built electric vehicle from Shanghai to Paris without getting hit by massive import taxes.
The tariffs would just kill the profit margin.
Exactly. But if you ship the underlying platform and assemble it in Zaragoza with European labor, it fundamentally changes the math. It mitigates those tariffs.
That makes sense. It's a loophole, kinda.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But there is a memorable detail that really stands out in this reporting. Industry experts warn that we might reach a, quote, point of no return if consumers embrace these new foreign entrants at scale.
Wait, I have to push back on the strategy because that warning makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
The implication here is massive. It fundamentally reshapes the entire competitive landscape.
Oh, absolutely.
Because European legacy brands are risking a long-term loss of their proprietary engineering edge, and more importantly, they're risking their established brand trust. If I buy an Opel, I expect German engineering, not a rebadged Chinese platform.
That is the exact tension at play here. And what this source doesn't answer, and maybe can't answer yet, is how European consumers will actually receive co-developed EV tech when it is hidden underneath familiar European badges.
Will they even know, or will they just care about the price and, the big shiny screen in the dashboard?
That's the billion-dollar question.
Now, if you look at a daily news dispatch covering that exact same Stellantis alliance, you see the sheer pragmatism driving it. The central insight from the news side is that this entire strategy is about pairing European manufacturing footprints with Chinese EV platforms specifically to control costs and navigate those complex trade rules you just mentioned.
It is purely a marriage of convenience.
Exactly. The dispatch notes that a LeapMotor branded model will actually be assembled in Europe. This achieves those coveted Made in Europe credentials.
Which is huge for marketing and avoiding those tariffs.
Right. It significantly reduces logistics costs, cuts down delivery times, and basically gives automakers a lifeline while they face a very bumpy, very expensive transition away from combustion engines.
It buys them time.
Yeah. And the detail that really stuck with me from that dispatch was a comment from Stellantis CEO Antonio Filosa. He explicitly suggested that these faster, flexible, collaborative routes to market might just become the standard going forward.
And if you look at the broader implications, it makes sense for them. It keeps European plants active, it keeps factory workers employed, and it essentially buys those legacy automakers the time they desperately need to advance their own portfolios. It is a pure survival tactic.
I see where you're going with that, but honestly, it reminds me of a struggling legacy restaurant.
Okay, how so?
Imagine a famous, old-school diner that has been making the same meatloaf for 50 years. They can't quite figure out modern tastes, and they are losing money. So to keep the lights on, they rent out their kitchen space to a flashy new rival chef who makes incredible modern fusion cuisine.
Ah, I see what you mean.
Right. Sure, it pays the rent and the dining room is full, but whose food are the customers actually learning to love? Once the customer realizes the real value is coming from the rival chef, the diner is just a landlord. At a certain point, what is the value of the legacy brand?
That is a brilliant way to frame the existential brand problem. You solve the immediate execution problem, keeping the factory running, but you kind of hollow out your own identity in the process.
Exactly.
But let's shift gears a bit, because the one thing that News Dispatch doesn't answer is whether this specific Europe-China production tie-up is going to become the definitive template for the entire continent, or if it's just a temporary Band-Aid.
That's the real test. So that is the factory floor. You have built the cars, maybe with a partner's platform, you have shipped them, and now they are sitting on a lot.
Right, the macro becomes the micro.
Yeah. How are you actually selling them? Dealerships are turning to AI marketing, but they are completely failing at the execution layer. There is a great breakdown titled, Why Dealership AI Ad Strategies Fail, and it is a brutal wake-up call.
It really is. The central insight of that analysis is incredibly blunt. It says AI ad planning is entirely useless and incredibly expensive without a proper execution infrastructure to deploy and optimize it.
It is the definition of a leaky bucket.
Totally.
The piece points out that budgets just hemorrhage when non-specialists try to implement these highly polished AI marketing plans. You might be thinking, why doesn't the dealership just turn off the bad ads?
Which seems like the logical solution.
Right. Well, the underlying issue is that the big ad platforms monetize impressions and clicks, not actual sales outcomes. So dealerships need to adopt what the source calls an agentic model.
Let's break that down, because agentic is a pretty heavy buzzword.
Yeah, please do.
It means that the AI actually has agency. It doesn't just sit in a dashboard and give a human a recommendation to look at. The AI connects directly to the execution tools. It actually has its hands on the keyboard, making real-time adjustments. Dealerships have to shift their entire mindset to tracking cost per acquisition, or CPA, rather than just looking at how many people saw a banner ad.
And the financial reality of this leak is just staggering. This is where that $4,000 I mentioned at the top of the show comes in.
Oh, right, the bot traffic.
Yeah. The coverage attributes research from Double Verify and Integral Ad Science showing that a standard $20,000 monthly ad budget can see a 20% waste rate entirely on invalid or non-human traffic.
20%, that is just wow.
20%, that is roughly $4,000 a month just burned on nothing.
Just evaporating into the digital ether. The implication here is that survival requires dealers to embed strict governance at the campaign level. We are talking about things like geographic exclusions.
So a dealer in Chicago isn't paying for clicks from someone sitting in London.
Exactly. And CRM suppression.
Yes, CRM suppression is huge. If you aren't familiar with the term, a CRM is your customer relationship management software. It is your database of who bought what.
Right, your core customer data.
If Bob bought a truck from you on Tuesday, the AI needs to talk to the CRM so you aren't paying to show Bob ads for that exact same truck on Wednesday.
Precisely. You don't want to pay to advertise to someone you just closed. But here is the massive limitation. What this source doesn't answer is how local dealerships are supposed to audit these incredibly complex tech stacks if they lack the specialized computer science expertise in the first place.
It's an unfair expectation.
It is. You are basically asking a car sales manager to suddenly be a programmatic advertising auditor.
Which is such a frustrating catch-22, and here's where it gets a little dark, in my opinion. The platforms themselves, your Googles and your Metas, they don't really have an incentive to fix this.
No, they don't.
They actually benefit from this inefficiency. They get paid for the clicks either way, whether it is a real buyer, a digital bot, or Bob who already bought the truck. It leaves the dealer holding the bag. It is a brilliant business model for the platform, but an absolute disaster for local retail execution.
It forces the dealership into a highly defensive posture. So, okay, you lock down the budget, you implement the agentic AI, you fix the top-of-funnel marketing leak, you finally get a real verified human lead.
Okay, victory, right.
Well, then what? You still have to close the sale.
And this brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, bridging the gap. We just talked about removing humans from the ad execution process because they make errors.
Right.
But a piece of reporting on a company called Phyron expanding dealer sales workflows presents a total paradox. The central insight is that the key to mastering the modern sales workflow is actually blending AI automation with intense human personalization.
It is a complete 180-degree turn from the ad strategy, but it completely makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
The coverage details how Phyron launched a video message tool specifically for one-to-one replies. The workflow is designed to be completely frictionless for the salesperson. They pull out their phone, record a quick selfie intro, do a walk around of the specific vehicle the customer asked about, and they are done.
And then the AI takes over from there?
Exactly. The app automatically stitches that raw footage together into a polished, branded landing page. It even provides real-time engagement alerts, so it notifies the salesperson the exact second the customer clicks play on the video.
That is incredibly smart. And the core strategy here, and this is the really memorable detail from the piece, is targeting the moment of highest buyer intent with a more human first touch, specifically to build trust early.
The implication is deeply psychological. It ensures the very first reply the customer gets feels like a genuine, warm conversation rather than a cold, automated email template that just says, dear customer, thank you for your inquiry.
I love the concept. But what this workflow breakdown doesn't answer is what the pricing and contractual terms for the dealers actually look like.
Yeah, the bottom line.
Right, you have to wonder what that level of automated human touch costs at scale for a smaller dealer.
That is always the million-dollar question with new dealer tech. But a separate piece of coverage on Phyron expanding dealer-led conversion goes a bit deeper into the utility. The central insight there is about expanding this automated video tech away from just simple inventory listings, where you just have a video of a car spinning on a turntable and injecting it directly into the critical one-on-one lead conversion moment.
Yeah, that piece highlights some real practical proof. It notes that early adopters already include major players like Stellantis in UK and Perry's.
Which shows its scaling.
Definitely. And the genius part is that the tool requires absolutely no manual editing from the sales staff, which is huge for a busy showroom floor. It fits seamlessly into existing workflows. It basically acts as the bridge tying together the entire journey from those paid AI ads we were just talking about right down to the direct dealer contact.
And the company's claim, which is a really crucial detail to highlight, focuses on consumer behavior. They point out that because modern shoppers research so extensively online before finally reaching out, that single first reply from the dealer is the most critical make-or-break moment in the entire sale.
So the implication is all about speed and consistency. Being able to fire off a personalized, high-quality video reply instantly can make a dealer stand out in an inbox full of generic auto responses.
Oh, absolutely.
It proves you have the car, and it proves there is a real human ready to help you.
Exactly. Though, to be totally fair to the data, what this specific coverage doesn't answer is the quantitative impact. There are no performance metrics on actual close rates disclosed yet.
So we don't know the actual conversion bump.
Right. We know the technology looks fantastic and it definitely saves time, but we don't have the hard ROI data on how many more cars it actually sells compared to a traditional phone call.
Okay, so let's pull all of this back together. We have covered a massive amount of ground, all the way from international trade down to a salesperson recording a selfie video.
It's a huge spectrum. And if we synthesize this entire journey, 3 major themes really jump out. First, there is the absolute necessity of merging strengths for survival.
Okay.
Whether it is a giant like Stellantis partnering with LeapMotor for manufacturing, as we saw in the first two reports, or a local dealer using Phyron to combine AI with human salespeople in those last two reports, the future requires hybrid models. The days of doing everything in-house are over.
That makes total sense. And the second theme is the execution gap itself. Grand ideas are totally useless without strict operational guardrails. The analysis on AI ad strategies showed us that without an execution infrastructure, your budget just bleeds out to bots.
Just massive waste.
Right. On the flip side, the coverage on Phyron shows early success specifically because their technology is designed to fit seamlessly into the existing daily habits of the sales team. It isn't just a shiny new toy, it executes.
And the third theme is the changing definition of local. Think about the scoop of what we just discussed. The reporting on the Stellantis alliance shows us European legacy badges being slapped onto Chinese car platforms, completely redefining what a local European car even means.
That's a really good point.
Meanwhile, the analysis of dealership ad strategies shows AI bots having to actively defend a local dealership's physical geographic territory from international click fraud. Local isn't just about geography anymore. It is a digital boundary.
It is wild how the concept of a neighborhood dealership has turned into a digital fortress.
It really has.
And looking at all this, there are two massive contradictions that we have to name explicitly. The first is automation versus humanity. The source on the ad strategies argues that we absolutely must remove human error, those non-specialists, from ad execution via an automated agentic AI model.
Right, get the humans out of the ads.
Exactly. But then the coverage on Phyron argues the exact opposite for the actual sale. They say you must inject a human face back into the automated process if you actually want to build trust and win the customer.
It is a constant pendulum swing.
Yeah.
And the second tension is protectionism versus open markets. The dispatches on the Stellantis-LeapMotor partnership highlight this perfectly.
How so?
Well, you have European legacy automakers relying heavily on Chinese tech to avoid tariffs and survive, which fundamentally contradicts Europe's broader desire for domestic technology sovereignty. They want to be independent, but their survival depends on integration.
So what is the practical takeaway from all of this noise? Here is the bottom line for you. Whether you are a global OEM building a multi-million-dollar factory in Spain, or you are a local dealer just trying to geofence your monthly ad budget, deploying new technology without a flawless, measurable execution infrastructure is just a fast way to burn your money and your brand equity.
You can have the smartest AI on the planet and the most powerful global partners, but if the strategy falls apart on the sales floor, it is entirely worthless. In a world that is completely obsessed with artificial intelligence and global scale, the ultimate competitive advantage hasn't actually changed. It is still just execution, making sure the right car and the right human meets the customer at the exact right moment.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Next time you see a local dealership ad pop up on your feed or you read about a slick new European electric vehicle, ask yourself, who actually built the tech and who is managing the execution? Keep your eyes on the sales floor, and we'll catch you on the next segment of Auto News Talk.